All right, today for Mousetrap Monday, I'm gonna do something I've never done before. I'm sitting down with my cameraman Weston here, and we took questions from YouTube viewers, a big long list of them, and we're gonna do an interview, almost like a podcast. Now, normally when I film videos, it's highly edited, we cut it up and try to make it perfect. But on this one, we're gonna do it in one take. So if we screw up, oh well. Okay, so some of the questions, there were kind of a themes and lots of people asked these. So it wasn't just one person asked these. Like I had hundreds of people asking these questions. So I compiled them into kind of a general theme. And I'm gonna have Weston start reading them. I'm gonna answer them. And then towards the end, we're gonna finish answering them. The big question people ask is how much money you make on YouTube. And I'm gonna talk about that on his channel. So we're gonna do the first part. It's gonna be pretty long. I have no idea how long it's gonna be on this channel. And then we're gonna finish the interview with Weston. So if you're a fan of my channel, you wanna know some things about me, more personal, other than just mousetraps, hopefully you enjoy this. Leave comments down below if I didn't answer all the questions you wanna hear, and we might do this again. So Weston can start and we'll see what happens. This isn't very scripted. He just saw these for the first time. I compiled them. I don't really know what I'm gonna say, so hopefully it turns out.
All right. First question. How did you get started on YouTube? What is the history of your channel?
Okay, the history of my channel. So this June will be 10 years on YouTube. YouTube's older than that, but it's still pretty early. YouTube was way different back then. Back then, I didn't know what I was doing. I've never made videos before. I had a little point and shoot with a video mode that was pretty low quality, and I had a MacBook Pro with iMovie. So that's all I had. YouTube seems like a kind of funny fit for me because in general, I'm an introvert. In group settings, I'm very quiet. I do a lot of observing and thinking, but I'm not the one out there seeking attention. So I did not get on YouTube to seek attention. I hate public speaking. I hate the attention on me, but I'm really passionate. I've ever since I was a little kid been really passionate about things I'm interested in. So if I was interested in something, I would basically try to learn everything possible about that. And those interests kind of made me an expert in certain fields, or just the passion, really wanted to learn about everything, read everything I could. And when I started watching YouTube videos, some of the things I was passionate about, there weren't videos there. So I thought, hey, I've been learning about this stuff. I'm still learning. I might as well record it and show people so they can learn along with me. And back then when I started, I was really passionate about like primitive survival skills, flint knapping. I had this goal of like studying ancient man, their Stone Age technology. And I wanted to make my own bow and arrow set from scratch, everything in nature, and go out and kill a deer with it.
Right, because your original channel name was Historic Hunter,
Originally it was Historic Hunter. So one thing I've always been passionate about is like history and learning from the past, especially like ancient history, like prehistoric times when people lived by hunting and gathering. So I have a rural background. Like I'm not a city guy, so I grew up on a farm, and I've always loved growing our own food, hunting and fishing. So those have been big passions in my life. And so it was a good fit for me, Historic Hunter, because I was learning kind of about ancient man and then trying to hunt with ancient equipment. So that was my original name, Historic Hunter. Long time ago. And for the first 5 years of making videos, I was against making money on it, as it was a hobby. So I didn't think you could make money on YouTube. I wasn't doing it for the money. Every video I made, I lost money because it cost money and time to make these videos. And so I started out not having a goal of being a YouTube star or being a professional YouTuber or anything like that, just to share my passions. And in those early days, it was really fun because there was these small communities of people that were interested in the same stuff you were. I could answer every single comment that came on my channel, have dialogue. We do like gift exchanges with people all over the world that were interested in the same things you were. So in a way, starting out having a small channel felt more like a really intimate community, that the people that were finding your videos were finding them because they were interested in the same things. There wasn't really like being the recommended to the general public that might not ever find you before. It was
Back when I was a little kid and I met you, was it still Historic Hunter?
It was, yeah.
Wow, long time ago.
Yeah, so I had all kinds of fun making those videos, and
yeah, I didn't have YouTube then myself, so I didn't even know about it at that point when I knew you when I was a little kid.
Yeah, that was funny. So I've known Weston for a long time too through church, and he was a little kid back then, but
still a little kid
okay.
in some ways.
So that's kind of my channel history getting started. Is I just had a lot of interest and passion and wanted to share with people.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Awesome. All right. Question 2. Why did you build a channel about mousetraps? Why call it Mousetrap Monday?
Okay, I get this a lot, especially since I post videos currently Monday and Friday. So that's a little, people think it's kind of weird to get videos called Mousetrap Monday on Fridays. But so the history is, like I said, I started out doing primitive survival, hunting, flint knapping, making Stone Age tools. I was especially interested in a 5,000-year-old frozen mummy that they found up in Italy, Otzi the Iceman, and I copied all his gear. And so that was my channel, Historic Hunter, and I loved doing Native American style bows and arrows. I'd make those. I do friction fire, all kinds of stuff like that. Part of learning survival is I wanted to figure out the best way to survive in the wild on just food that you hunted and gathered. So I kind of became obsessed with learning how people all around the world throughout history survived off the land, hunting and gathering. And that led me to learning about some cultures that would pretty much feed their families using traps, small animal traps. That led to the Paiute deadfall. So I was already making videos about flint knapping, making bows, arrows, knives out of stone tools. I found kind of these accounts of tribes that were feeding their family with rats and squirrels on Paiute deadfalls. And you see this on the survival shows, some of the major survival shows where people have to find food. Hunting is really hard, fishing can be hard, and a lot of times they'll resort to catching mice with Paiute deadfall traps and stuff like that. So I made a video about that, but there's a lot of nuance in how you make these primitive traps. It's like a deadfall is like a rock or a log that falls down. There's a trigger system. So I was trying to learn, and the videos that I was seeing from the survival schools, they show you how to make it, but they weren't actually catching animals with it. So I tried to make some of these traps and wasn't successful, and I wanted to know why, because the bait would be gone or it wouldn't be tripped. So I got the idea of setting up a motion camera, a trail camera on the trap. And that way I could watch how the rat would interact with the trap. And based on that, I'd make adjustments and really learn how to make it well. And after I made it well, I did a video, because I was already doing survival videos on it with the motion cameras of a rat actually going in there and getting caught with the trap. And, before then, I had a pretty successful channel doing the primitive historic hunter stuff. I had over 1 million views, which felt pretty good. I got my silver play button, 100,000 subscribers just on primitive survival.
Wow.
But most videos, I was lucky to get within the first month, 10,000, 20,000 views on per video.
Right.
And I thought that was really good. Well, this Paiute deadfall in a very short time got 1 million views. And so that was my first real viral video.
Right.
And it got more views on that one video than I got on a whole year of making all these videos. So I knew there was something different about these traps. And so I made another one, and the same thing happened. The figure 4 deadfall, and it went viral as well. And so I was getting excited because I found some kind of niche that was reaching a wider audience than what I had been getting with my primitive survival historic hunter stuff. Right.
You found your niche and started specializing in it.
And that back then, YouTube was way different. They were a lot more lenient on what you could put on YouTube. And I wasn't posting videos that were overly... The intention wasn't to be gory or violence or shocking. I was really interested in actually how we build these traps well so they'd be successful. And then
showing them in action.
And I even, I feel pretty strongly that if you're killing things, especially in the name of survival and I need to know the skill so I can survive. I wanted to know what they tasted like. So I cooked up and ate the rats, and I did that as a video too, just to kind of really show the whole survival experience. Well, those went well, but someone started emailing me personally that watched a video that was not happy with me killing animals on video, and in their email they said, I'm going to report you to YouTube, and I'm going to get this video taken down. So back then, cancel culture wasn't a thing, or YouTube wasn't as strict with what you put on. And I was like, this is crazy. There's 1 million views on this video. People love it.
Right.
It teaches a lot. And it had this one person said they were going to have it taken down. And within a week, I got flagged from YouTube. And so I couldn't believe that one person could complain. And even though 1 million people liked it, one person complained, it would be taken down. And back then I was so frustrated. I said, well, fine, if you're going to try to get me taken down with the one video, I'm going to do a new trap video every Monday. And so that's how it kind of started, was I was doing, Mousetrap Monday. So that's kind of the history is.
That's awesome.
I started posting videos on Monday. Like I was doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The Wednesday, Friday survival stuff were not growing at all, but people were tuning in every single Monday for the trap video. So, and pretty soon I ran out of like the primitive survival traps. There's only so many you can show how to make.
Right.
And so
I remember trying to do the friction traps, not friction traps, but like the friction trying to start fires.
Yeah.
I'll just be sitting there for like 45 minutes and I never got anything.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. And I had fun trying to master those skills so I could teach other people. But so that's kind of how Mousetrap Monday started, was originally kind of me being frustrated with being censored. And since then things have changed. So I think if I started that same channel with the same mindset now, I would have never been successful, but luckily it had been popular enough and grew enough, and I've learned how to work with YouTube's guidelines to have the channel I have today. And why mousetraps? So mousetrap, that's a big one. If you're going to have a successful YouTube channel, you need to have viewers in the audience at a big enough scale. You can have a successful YouTube channel with small audiences, but if you really want to reach a lot of people, you need to have something that appeals to a wide audience. And YouTube's a worldwide audience there. So you can have your real niche interest, but you want as big of an audience as possible.
Right.
Well, I discovered that posting these primitive survivals, that people all over the world were asking me for advice on catching a mouse in their house. And so that led to me going to the hardware store, and at this point, I've never made a single penny on YouTube, and I felt so bad because I spent $100, and I went and bought every different kind of mousetrap on the shelf at hardware store, like everyone that was available. And I'd just start testing them out, and just to give recommendations. And those continued to grow, and people really liked them, liked the recommendations, especially the motion cameras, of seeing how they worked.
Right.
So what I discovered is mousetraps appeals to every culture throughout history has had a rodent problem. I've featured traps that were made by the ancient Egyptians, and so even thousands and thousands of years ago, rodents were a problem, and people were making traps even to today. So every time someone finds a mouse in their house and goes to YouTube, that's someone looking for the content I'm putting on there. So throughout the world, and so that's why I think mousetraps have been so successful. Is it appeals to everyone in the world that could potentially have a rodent problem.
And if you go to YouTube right now, like if you're just searching up, you're like, I have a rodent problem, I need a mousetrap. You just search mousetrap in YouTube and your stuff comes up.
Yeah, and so that's really been a great thing for my channel. So I still love doing these other things, but the channel's just kind of morphed into mousetraps. And so that's kind of what it is.
Yeah. And you're now branching out with House Trap Monday, where it's mousetraps, but you're going out on location in practical and more of a TV show format. And that's an awesome way to branch out while still staying in your niche.
Yeah. And so, and that really comes from people just constantly emailing me. Like it can be hundreds of emails a day about, I have a mouse in my barn or my house or my garage, what do I do? And so I'm hoping these episodes I'm filming with you give some tips and techniques on how to deal with rodent problems, because I wish I could give one-on-one advice to every viewer, but
right.
I receive thousands of comments a day and I can't answer everyone. So that's kind of the idea behind that.
Right. Now, question 3, when will you run out of mouse traps to test out?
I get this one a lot too, because I'm posting 2 videos a week year round. I have almost 700 videos. But the answer, like I said before, people have been making mouse traps for thousands of years. So the number of different ways of catching mice is pretty much unlimited. And if you go to the U.S. Patent Office alone, just in this country, there's over 5,000 patents for mouse traps.
And you've only made 700 videos.
Yeah, I've only made 700. And not all of those have made it to market. It's actually a pretty saturated market, so it's difficult to get a mouse trap successfully sold to the point where it's like being sold on a national level. Then, so I have all these patents. I bought a whole collection of mousetrap patents that a guy put together, that a fellow collector. Oh yeah. And so I can flip through those, even if they're not being sold or they're like antiques. I can recreate them from the patent drawings, and I love doing that. That alone, I have another 4,000 ideas right there. And then new mousetraps are constantly being put on the market, and so every day I check, Amazon, eBay, all of them for new traps, and I love it when I find a new one for sale.
Right.
And then YouTube viewers, some of the best mousetraps out there are invented by YouTube viewers.
Yeah.
And so they're all over the world are making new mousetraps and asking that I'll feature them on their channel. I love that.
Yeah, I love the ones from Dead Mouse Inc.
Yeah.
Those are awesome traps.
That's a good one. Yeah. And all over the world, I got a lot coming from Europe too, just all over this country. So there's those traps, and then there's the antique traps. And there are so many different kinds of antique traps. Some that I'd say for every mousetrap patent, there's probably just as many that were sold or made that weren't patented. So I'm constantly learning about new ones and buying those. And so I will not run out of mousetraps to feature anytime soon. So, okay.
All right. Question 4. What is the best mousetrap that you recommend?
I get this all the time too. People have a mouse problem. They want to know what to recommend. I can catch mice on many, many different traps. So it kind of depends on the situation, and a lot of it is technique on how you set the traps. Right. So, some people want something that's inexpensive, and the classic is the snap trap. So, I mean, like the Victor snap trap is the classic one, and that's a great one. I can be very successful with that. Some people want elaborate ones, like for long-term maintenance in an RV or something where they're not constantly checking it. And so there's great traps for those, especially like a bucket trap where they fall into something like alcohol or vegetable oil sitting on water, because they'll sink down in the water, and the vegetable oil blocks the smell from coming up. So Mescal Mill, there's a 3D printed one being sold on Amazon. It's great. Some YouTube viewers have created great ones. Automatic Walk the Planks. Especially, I really like the ones where they drop down in a bucket and reset themselves, because that's very low maintenance, and you can catch a lot of mice over a long period of time.
Dozens of mice. Yeah. So it's basically like different mouse traps for different purposes, and that's why your videos are so awesome, because they show all these different scenarios and situations so that people can make their own decision for the best mouse trap for their situation. Yeah. And a big thing is price point. I mean, there are mouse traps being sold out there that are $400 or $500 down to ones that are less than $1. So how much do you want to spend? Well, how are you going to use it? Do you want it to be a live catch versus a kill trap? Can you adjust the trigger to make it more sensitive? What bait are you going to use? There's a lot of factors, but one thing I found that helps my channel is when people ask this is I do have an Amazon affiliate store of my favorite traps, because there's so many on the market. Yeah. So if you want my favorite mouse traps that are available, I have favorite mouse traps that aren't being produced. They're like prototypes that inventors have made, but my favorite ones that are commonly available, I have an Amazon store with different price points, different live catch, kill trap. And that also helps me, because when people buy those from the Amazon store, it helps support my channel too. I get a small percentage through the affiliate program. All right. Yes. Now, question 5. Where do you find these rare antique mouse traps? So if you've watched my channel, you know I have a pretty big mousetrap collection. I probably have over 1,200 different mousetraps. And
they can be very rare. Some of them, I have some that are like maybe only a few known examples. And what I found is I search eBay constantly, and there is a niche of mousetrap collectors that are passionate. So I'm buying these mostly to make videos is my number one goal to feature for YouTube. And so there's a certain amount of revenue that's produced by these. So I can afford to have a budget to buy these mousetraps. But there's people willing to spend thousands of dollars just to add to their collection and sit on the wall. So it's not uncommon for a mousetrap to come available that the price it's so rare and the price gets so high that I can't justify buying it for my collection because I will never make the money back on YouTube for that. But so eBay is a big one. Just recently, like last week, a YouTube viewer, and this was so great, just emailed me a picture while they were in an antique store of a mousetrap. And I looked at that and goes, holy cow, I've never seen that before. That's great. And so that viewer bought it for me, and I paid him for PayPal to purchase it and send it to me. So
that's awesome.
So sometimes YouTube viewers will find really great stuff in obscure places that I could never find, antique malls and shops and stuff. So I love seeing pictures. Having over 1,000, most of the stuff out there I've at least seen or already have, but I love it when there's a little like treasure that I would never find sitting away.
It's awesome. The first thing they think when they see a mousetrap at the store was, I should show this to Shawn.
So that was great. And then there's this community that's on Facebook. There's mousetrap collecting Facebook pages and stuff. And these collectors have been collecting their whole lives. So they have really impressive collections. And I found a lot of these, they're not wanting to make money by selling their collection. They're pretty emotionally attached to these. These are like treasures that they've gone out and found and sacrificed to have. So you can't just be like, that's a great mousetrap. How much do you want to sell it for? So I found having relationships with these kind of other collectors has really helped. And when they are ready to sell or need some money, they reach out to me. So that's some of my best traps. The rare traps are through these community. And I also found that the currency for rare mousetraps are sometimes other rare mousetraps. So if I make a video of a mousetrap and then a collector is like, I really want that for my collection, I have 2 of these, or I'm willing to trade. So I'm doing a lot of trading of mousetraps. But it's an interesting thing. I'm also collecting all the new ones too. So I kind of have a pretty extensive collection that I go back to and make videos and use for resources. But it's interesting how many people have had an idea of how to invent a mousetrap, and then they went through the process of actually getting a patent and then having it built, and then and this can be up in the 1800s. There was a lot of people that were pretty mechanical geniuses making mousetraps. And so few of these mousetraps have survived because they're pretty much disposable, And so when you find an original one from the 1800s that's still intact,
that's amazing.
It's fun.
What's on your wish list of traps you still want to feature on YouTube?
So there's some traps that I want to feature that have been either just not available, they're too rare, or just haven't had an opportunity. Some of the coolest traps that I want to feature are only available to like professional exterminators. They're not for sale in general public. So I'm working with another channel, the Twin Home Experts. They do a lot of like, they're plumbers and home repair, but they also do rodent detection and exclusion. And they got kind of rights to distribute this trap from Italy. And it's a box rat trap that they go in there, and it basically has them drop down into a bucket of solution that's like alcohol, so it preserves them. And it can catch an insane number of rodents, but it's a higher cost. It's really for professionals that are trying to exterminate in large settings. And so that's one I really want to feature, and I'm probably going to work with them. They're over in Idaho, but probably this summer, and try to get that set up where we catch a bunch of rats with that. There's some antique ones that are kind of like, they call them top shelf, or like the crown jewel of a mousetrap collection. One of them is like a little cart that the mouse goes in and gets caught, and it looks like a little toy car. It's called the Mousemobile. And those are pretty rare. Like the only one I've ever seen for sale was for $5,000 for this old mousetrap. And so I haven't bought one of those. The one of the ones I think is most interesting, but it's pretty controversial. They call it clown face, and it's from the late 1800s. And it's a face with a mouth, and the mouse goes in there and it swallows the mouse, and then it goes into this cage. The only one I've ever seen for sale was $10,000 for one mousetrap. Yeah. There's other examples out there that aren't as pristine but people haven't been willing to part with them.
That clown face one, though, if I was a rat, I would never go in that thing because I'm scared of clowns.
Yeah, well, that's what makes it so controversial is it's called clown face to be more politically correct, but back then the inventors were kind of making a political statement, and it was a blackface, so it's a racist mousetrap. So I don't want to spend that much money and for this racist item that and put that on YouTube.
Man, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and that's a really sensitive subject nowadays, but that's history. I mean, that was kind of so ingrained in the culture. They were making racist mousetraps, and
that's okay. Before today, if you would have told me that, would have been like, how? I don't get it.
Yeah, and a lot of the advertisements for some of the old mousetraps are, I mean, they're racist too. So this is like right after the Civil War and up into the 1880s, and that's just the culture of the time. So so those are some mousetraps that have been interesting, but I don't know if I'm going to spend that much money to add it to the collection, especially with the history, and I don't know the response on YouTube. You hope people could understand those things for the time period.
Because you need to know your history. Yeah,
but I hope I could own a racist mousetrap without being racist myself. Accused of being racist. So.
Yeah, the Mousemobile though, that sounds fun if you can ever find one of those cheap enough.
Yeah, so those are pretty rare too, and there's a whole bunch of them like that, but. Funds with funny names and different novelty traps, but
yes.
Okay, what's the next question?
So, what are the greatest challenges you face making YouTube videos?
There's a lot of challenges. I'd say the number one challenge is time, because I'm not a professional YouTuber. I have a full-time job. I have 4 kids, including a very young Ruby just turned 1. And so family life is like number one with work, and then I do YouTube on the side.
Right.
So finding enough time to do it and do it well is a challenge. It's something I really enjoy doing. So it's still a hobby and a passion I do. But people think, oh, you're a professional full-time YouTuber, and that's not the case at all. I squeeze it in. I do a lot of late nights and spend weekends, filming and doing this stuff. But by far the number one, YouTube's changed over last 10 years. Right. And like I said, originally starting out, what used to be pretty, you could put a lot more stuff than you can now. And so some of the stuff that I put 10 years ago that was fine is now, doesn't meet the YouTube guidelines that are constantly changing.
Right.
And so I want to produce videos that appeal to the audience, but also meet the YouTube guidelines. And that's a really difficult line to walk,
especially in your niche.
In my niche, because people want to see the traps in action, see them work, and YouTube does not. So I'm still getting flagged for videos or get in trouble for videos from YouTube that I posted, 9-10 years ago. And so that's been a real challenge. Like when I started, when I stopped showing the action kill shots, I do selective editing on the traps. I lost 100,000 subscribers within a month.
Okay, question 8. How has YouTube changed your life in a positive way?
So YouTube has been great. I really enjoy making the videos. So I'd say that's like my hobby. But there is a financial benefit to it. There's a community benefit to it. I've been able to meet people I would have never been able to meet. So I've got to do some really cool things too. One of the coolest things is when I started my channel, some of my earliest videos, I was recreating everything I could find of that Ötzi the Iceman, that ice mummy. And I made his bow and his arrows, his backpack, recreated his last meal. They cut open his stomach to see what he had eaten. And after posting those videos, someone in Italy reached out to me that was involved with the museum over there and offered to take me and my wife to the discovery site. So we actually flew to Italy, spent a little time going to Venice and stuff for fun, and then went over to the northern border and actually climbed up the glacier.
Oh.
And I got to see where his body was laying, and I had read about this and studied it, but I got to follow the same path he would have went up. And that was just incredible. So that was like an experience of a lifetime. I was like, at that point, if I had the opportunity to go anywhere in the world, that's where I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
And through YouTube, I was able to. I also got to go to the museum and see his body and like just study
in person
and study every one of his tools that I had studied and recreated. I was so interested. I learned how to melt copper to make his axe, and I got to go just inches from his copper axe and study every detail of it.
Whoa!
So that was great. I posted some garden videos and have had really great community of people that reached out to me with like heirloom seeds, and we kind of keep these communications going where we trade seeds.
Nice.
So that the community aspect's really great. And I've had some opportunities like, so obviously I have a pretty big YouTube channel resource, one of the biggest in the world for resources for mousetraps. And so I've been able to meet with some of the biggest mousetrap companies in the world, their CEOs and presidents and of the companies, and talk with them. And that's kind of an interesting experience. I actually went over to Pennsylvania to the headquarters and got to meet with them. And I'm like, I'm just the guy who posts videos on YouTube, but I'm meeting with these huge companies, and they actually had a collection of some of the rarest mousetraps ever, and they let me kind of have a private tour of it. Like this room hasn't been opened in decades, and it was these things haven't been seen for a long time, and I was able to get kind of firsthand and see them. So that was interesting, and kind of learned about some of the business aspect. And I got to go see the factories where they made these traps and stuff, like the Victor mouse traps and rat traps, see the machines and kind of behind the scenes. So that was really fun. And then obviously the financial aspect of it, that's an interesting thing, because people think if you have a million subscribers, you're going to be rich. And that's not my own personal experience. Like I said, I still work a job that I love and consider this a hobby. It does provide some benefit, though. Like I get to choose to send my kids to a great school that's local and private and really expensive. So it's helped me to have, a more comfortable life. And so, and plan for the future, with retirement and stuff. So, there's a financial benefit, but just really the community. And it's kind of weird. I mean, I don't consider myself at all famous, but when I go places, people recognize me and my family, and they feel they've been watching for a decade, they feel they know me. So they feel comfortable enough to come up and say hi, which I love. But it's it's an interesting thing being on YouTube, and there's a lot of benefits. I mean, there's a lot of downfalls, but a lot of benefits too.
Right. I know I've been recognized now 3 times by people that I didn't know previously. So it's happened to me 3 times, and it's a little weird.
It's weird, yeah. And they know so much about me that they know a lot of details about my life that and I know nothing about them. So
right. It's so weird when you're like, never met them, they know nothing about you, and they come up and they're like, hey, Weston from YouTube or from Instagram, or hey, Shawn from YouTube. Yeah. They know you. They've gotten to know you online, but you don't know who they are.
Yeah. So, and I get letters from, especially, I don't consider myself to have a kids channel, but a lot of kids will watch the channel with their parents. Yeah. And they draw pictures and send letters. I love those. So
yeah. And the cats too.
The cats
love the channel.
People started, I was thinking about doing a whole like hour-long thing of just for cats, of like mice running around. Oh yeah. That people could put on loop while they but maybe that video is coming soon. Ooh. So there's been a huge benefit to it. I mean, there's a huge stress too. I get so much hate mail. You wouldn't believe the things people say about me for posting videos of mousetraps and things they want to do to my family. It gets pretty nasty and scary. Yeah. And so there's definitely a cost, but there's a benefit too. So.
All right. Question 9, and this is a fun one. Have you ever been injured making a YouTube video?
I have. And those always make good videos too. as far as mousetraps go, it's not uncommon for me to have an accident and smash my fingernails.
Right.
So people enjoy watching, I'll get a purple thumbnail or something and to watch for the next 6 months as it grows out.
Oh, yeah.
That happens quite a bit. That's a pretty minor injury. The ones that have sent me to the hospital the most are getting bit by rodents. That's happened twice by a vole where I was releasing the stinking vole. I opened up the trap. The vole ran out and turned around and bit my finger. And I washed it off real well, but that thing got so infected. And it was like, I felt like my skin was about to burst and it was red lines moving up my arm. So I had to go to the doctor, urgent care.
Oh, man.
Apparently when there's animal bites, you have to fill out special forms. Usually it's for dogs, but so I had to fill out twice that I was bit by a mouse and got pretty good staph infection that required antibiotics.
Remind me to stay behind the camera.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really an injury, but I've been sprayed by skunks a lot.
Ooh,
a lot of that is, to get closer to get that thumbnail, I try to position myself and skunks will come out, the trap and want to spray whatever they see. That's happened. Yep. I'm very sensitive to poison oak. And so like when I was doing the primitive survival and out in the woods where it's everywhere, I'm so sensitive that like even a coworker will be in it in the truck or something and they'll drive. And then if I get in the same truck, I will completely break out head to toe. I've been gotten in the eyes and been pretty blind for a couple days till that. So
yeah,
those have been the major injuries while filming. I've had some burns when I was figuring out how to melt copper, with the blowtorch and pouring liquid metal, but they weren't so serious. But.
Yeah, man, that poison oak, that sounds like one of the worst. Like I'm not affected by poison oak myself, but I've seen it happen to people. That's got to be some of the hardest. Like I would panic if I went blind from it.
Yeah, I'm kind of used to it. But like even if it touches just my arm, my whole body breaks out. Like I don't know if it's systemic or it gets in blood system or what. So it's like super, super sensitive. And actually before I made YouTube videos, I had like a life goal. I love reading traditional Archer magazine. It's like a magazine. And I'd read all these articles and it's like, I want to write an article in the magazine. And so that was just something that I thought was maybe like kind of crazy idea, but I wrote an article. It actually was published, and
awesome.
It was about hunting and because I was so allergic to poison oak, and this tree I wanted to hunt out of, like to ambush the deer, had poison oak vines. I removed them and made an arrow. The arrow wood was actually poison oak, and so that was kind of interesting. And I broke out poison oak after that, but from making that arrow. But I killed a deer with that arrow too, so that was fun.
Wow,
so I'm a published magazine author for one article.
Awesome. Yeah, I know I've gotten hurt because for my photography, my videos going up mountains and stuff, I once got stuck in the snow and I was trying to hack off, like I didn't have any shovels, so I like hacked off like a branch, but I stabbed myself with my knife, so I was like bleeding out in the snow.
Oh my goodness.
And the video got finished. So yeah, injuries happen doing photos and videos.
They do, yeah. But dealing with traps, I mostly get smashed fingers, and I purposely, people get a reaction when you put your finger in the trap to test it out, so I'll do that.
I might do it if I was wearing my leather gloves, but I don't know if I just willingly be able to just...
Yeah, but I've never broken bones or anything like that.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Question 10. How is your family doing after the car accident?
So I get this a lot too. Like people who didn't see that episode about 2 years ago, I was, finishing up work and got a call that my family was in a really bad car accident. And it was pretty serious. That car, they were hit from behind on the freeway and then got smashed into a car in front of them and they got hit on both sides. And that was my wife and 3 kids. And so it was terrifying, and there was like that following year. So 2020's been hard, but 2019 for us was really hard. We had over probably 45 doctor visits that year and stuff. Yeah. Everybody's doing good now. So my wife had some broken bones in her hands, but we're doing really well with the car accident. That was, gives you a really good perspective when you almost lose everything.
It was such a miracle, like seeing the pictures and seeing that everyone was fine.
Yeah. So I actually my wife couldn't find her phone, so we went to the tow yard that our car was, and I crawled in there. Couldn't get any doors; they were all smashed, and everything was smashed except where the people were. And I'm pretty sure it was a Honda Pilot. The people that engineered that made that car crumple in every single way except where the kids' child seats were. So that was a miracle, and everybody's doing really well. So it's kind of interesting. We didn't want to get a lawyer and be like, we're going to sue for everything we want, but the people were insured and there were some funds there. And after 2 years, like just last week, we received those funds and are able to buy a property, so that's going to be some future videos. Is we are buying 22 acres of a forest property that we can build on in the future.
I'm excited for that.
There's some trail cameras out there, and there's some huge Roosevelt elk, just like some of the biggest ones I've ever seen. There's like deer out there. When the realtor was out there, it was snowing. There's cougar tracks around. So I'm going to be a landowner very soon. We're going through that process of closing the deal on the property where I can film up there, kind of on our own little piece of land. And, that was made possible through some of that. The last 2 years were really hard, but there are some benefits too, where we can eventually in the future we were thinking a log cabin or something there. So their insurance company was really generous and great to work with. So we were thankful. It was, all that aspect of the financial aspect was that was a huge challenge, that finances that year, but they were generous, so that was good. And
speaking of car accidents, I got in a car accident 2 days ago. So yay.
I asked what happened as soon as this Prius drove up. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Hey, you just leaked that I have a Prius to everybody. Okay. Question 11. What other interests do you have other than mousetraps?
So if I suddenly was not allowed to make videos about mousetraps anymore, I still have things I'm completely, really passionate about, that I do in my spare time. Obviously, I still love the flint knapping, primitive archery, making bows. That stuff's really time consuming. And so it's something I enjoy doing, and I occasionally do, but I'm not doing it because I have to work and have family life, and then in my free time I make YouTube videos. But I love traditional archery, primitive archery, flint knapping, survival. Other interests that I haven't really talked about. So obviously I've talked about hunting. I love hunting, and really that's an excuse to get out in nature, kind of. So I was born on opening day of deer hunting season, in Central Oregon, in this tiny little town. And I've gone back pretty much every year of my entire life. And then this year, my son's old enough, he gets to go back. So it's a family event, going hunting, and we enjoy cutting up the meat and eating deer meat and venison throughout the year. Ever since I was young, I was always interested in history. And so I started collecting coins, American coins, as type. So I have a huge coin collection. I've never told anybody really about that.
Oh yeah.
And I keep it in a very secure place. But I used to drive farm equipment in high school, like combines, and work all summer and have some money. And then I go around to the coin shows and buy rare antique coins. I have gold coins.
Oh wow.
Especially a lot from the colonial era, right before we were even a country. I have a bunch of coins from that. So maybe I
thought my coin collection had old coins in it.
Yeah, these I have from the colonies. I have from some really early, the first pennies that were ever made. They were large cents back then, 1793.
Whoa.
And there's very few of those. I still have. I have some of those. So I have a very extensive type coin collection that's interesting. I love gardening, making my own food. We when we have time, canning, but I've never since really getting married not had a garden. Even if we lived in an apartment and I had one little ledge on the back, I'd raise tomatoes back there, and the neighbor kids would run and steal them. but I've always done gardening, especially heirloom gardening. I love gardening, and I've done some videos on that. And so I would not mind having a heirloom garden, producing food channel.
Yeah.
Recently, now that my kids are getting more into hunting, that my favorite meat of all time is venison and duck. I love eating ducks, waterfowl. So I've been getting more into waterfowl hunting because there's a lot more opportunities. I can take my kids out, and I turned 40 this year, so I'm feeling kind of old, and kind of just to mark the starting a new decade, turning 40, I wanted to go on a trip. I thought I was going to do a hunting trip of like for deer, where I really want to go hunt these small desert deer down in this the Southwest, the Coues deer, or up in Alaska for Sitka blacktail. But I became interested in waterfowl hunting and recently joined this thing called the Ultimate Waterfowl Challenge, where people, enjoy going hunting different kinds of ducks. So they have they're really adventure vacations where you go to different parts of the country and try to get one of every different kind of species. So I signed up. I'm going to the Northeast in December, over to Maine, out on the ocean, and we're gonna hunt some ducks, me and a buddy, some eider and black duck and other ducks that I would never get here. And so
cool.
I'm looking forward to maybe doing some of those every once in a while. Like there's ducks that are only down in like the Gulf Coast, like Florida, model ducks I can never get. So maybe go on an airboat down in the Everglades or
just watch out for the alligators.
I know. And like there's some great hunts down in Mexico. And the ultimate, like eventually I'd like to do is there's a kind of duck that you can only get on pretty much like the Bering Sea, like St. Paul. It's called the king eider. They have guides there, and those trips to go get that one duck is going to cost you like between $6,000 and $10,000. But I like the idea of going on these adventures in different places. I want to go up to Canada, some of the snow geese and stuff. So I might feature those in my channel.
I'd like to good video opportunities.
Yeah, if people are interested in waterfowl hunting and duck hunting, and I love eating ducks and different kinds of duck hunting. So
we'll see what the comments say.
I'm going in December to Maine, so if you want to see some East Coast duck hunting, let me know.
Yeah, that's cool about the coin collection. I also have a stamp collection, and I have a stamp that I got. It's worth like thousands and thousands of dollars, but it has a rip in it, and I got it with a rip in it, and I'm like, no, if this was perfect, it would be worth thousands of dollars, but it's still cool. It's a very old stamp.
Yeah.
All right, question 12. How much money do you make on YouTube?
People ask this a lot. How much do you make? How much can you make? If you have, I have 1.5 million subscribers and almost getting close to 500 million views. So I have a big channel, and people always want to know how much you make. And the answer is a lot less than you might think. I don't know if I'm comfortable sharing exactly how much I make, but I'm going to get more into the details of how I make money on videos and kind of I'll definitely talk about how much I've been offered to do one 90-second spot on a sponsored ad that I turned down. Right. It's a pretty insane number that people are willing to pay to reach the audience, and I've turned them down because I don't want to turn this into like an infomercial channel. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I'm going to tell you all about those on Weston's channel. He's growing. He's been helping me out a lot filming, and we got a bunch more questions. So we're going to continue this interview. If you want to know how much I make, I'll discuss that, the finances of it, on Weston's channel. So there'll be a link in the description. We'll put the end card to click on that. And there's some great questions we're going to ask and talk about YouTube on his channel to help him grow. And if you don't know, we've been filming Mousetrap Mondays, and then his channel, he has behind the scenes. So you get a behind the scenes perspective on how we film on his channel. So make sure you check that out. Always, I appreciate it if you consider subscribing. And if you like these kind of videos, let me know. We can do more. Leave your comments down below of questions you want to know. This is something unlike anything I've done before. So we'll see. It's definitely my longest video. My internet is so slow. It takes me, for every minute of a video, it takes me 1 hour to upload. So if this one's going to be our longest one, I'm going to have to go somewhere and upload it, because my internet would take me 5-6 days to get a video this long uploaded.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen. So okay, we're going to stop this one, get the rest of the interview at Weston's channel.
Also, if you like Instagram, Shawn now has an Instagram page. It's right down here at Shawn Woods Official. Make sure you go follow that, and you can see updates and photos and behind the scenes, all that sort of good stuff. So make sure you check that out, and make sure you check the top link in the description of this video so you can watch me interview Shawn on my channel, and we'll finish up this interview with some more exclusive content there. See you then.
Thanks.